nostalgia for innocence and an appeal to the essence of being. In order to exist, man must rebel, but rebellion must respect the limits that it discovers in itself, limits where minds meet, and in meeting begin to exist. What is a rebel? A man who says no.
Look at my watch, it was 9:31, so I called my baby, said let's have some fun, and we rode. Riding on the rebel. We were riding on the rebel, rolling from the break of dawn.
The new Honda Rebel. Everything you ever wanted in your first motorcycle, only $12.98.
And we rode. Riding on the rebel. We were riding on the rebel, rolling from the break of dawn.
That was 40 years ago, when Honda launched their 250 parallel twin with one goal: to get a whole generation of new riders hooked on Honda. It worked. The tiny seat height, the simplicity and affordability of the little 250 made it the de facto beginner's bike. And it sold well all through the 80s and the 90s, but by the 2000s it had become outdated and outclassed, so the little Rebel was quietly put to bed. Until 2017, when Honda got that itch again and relaunched the Rebel line, totally redesigned and reinvigorated and aimed squarely at a new generation of Gen Z rebels. And do you know what? They did it again. Despite competition, the Rebel remains synonymous with my first motorbike, and with good reason. Welcome to An Ordinary World. If you're new here, my name is Ferdia, and today we're going to ruminate on the Rebel 500, Honda's Rebel with a cause. Terrorizing the young families on a Sunday. This is actually my old university campus. It's been 10 years since I started coming here. Man, don't walk on a fucking roundabout, Jesus. Okay, so a little rundown of the specs while we're sitting in this traffic, for those of you too lazy to look them up for yourselves. We've got a 471 liquid cooled parallel twin down there. It's a Honda engine. They can do no wrong. They've been building engines for quite a while, and they've built a lot of them, so yeah, I'm sure that engine will be good for many miles. As we're coming up to these lights up here, let's talk about the braking. We've got single discs front and rear with ABS optional, and if this is a new rider taking this bike out, there is no reason why. Here we go, brake test. Braking is sufficient. It's quite a light bike. There is no reason why a new rider should not pay the $5 for that optional ABS. It's a pity that it is optional, but alas, there you go. We've got an adjustable shock in the rear, non-adjustable forks. Suspension is actually on Dublin roads. It's a little bit rough. The ride can be quite bumpy at times. What else have we got? We've got an 11-litre tank in here, tiny little tank. It's not going to get you very far at all. Maybe 180, 200 kilometers if you're very frugal. The seat height, of course, that is one of the major features of this bike. It's tiny. It is tiny. I'm not a tall person, thankfully, because if I was, I would not be very comfortable on this bike. I think the seat height comes in at 29 inches, which is probably as low as you can go. I think the Honda Grom seat height is actually higher than the Honda Rebel. I'm an old school type of person. I like my analog clocks, so not much to say about this little dash. It's functional. Everything about this bike is functional. Rider aids, you've got your gear selector or your gear indicator there. Let's see the pull here. Oh yeah, she's plenty quick. So this bike is designed to come in under the A2 European license category. So it comes in at about 34 kilowatts, about 46 horsepower claimed, and 43 newton meters of torque. And it is a nice torquey engine, as these medium bike cruisers should be. So yeah, you can pull away plenty quick. Plenty quick. I think that's everything. Can I think of anything else? Oh yeah, the tires. We've got these big, fat, super fat 16 inches on front and rear, which make it very, very flickable, and contribute to its overall sort of punchy, mean looking style. We've got an LED headlight, LED lights everywhere. Here we go for another pull. Go on, little rebel! Woo! Okay, I said we'd be good. Okay. Very nice. There's an OG rebel over there. Okay, let's get out of the city now and we'll talk about how it handles. Man, it is a fantastic August day here in Dublin. Everyone is out. Okay, so we're pulling onto the motorway now, so let's see how she cruises. Actually, I don't think we're going to get to do any cruising at this with this traffic. All the Sunday drivers out. Whilst we're going slowly, actually, let me just talk a little bit about the seating position, because it is a little bit unusual for me. I have ridden cruisers before. I rode a cruiser for many years, an RA50C BMW cruiser. Now that was more cruiser with more swept back bars, and the foot pegs were a little bit more forward. Here the riding style is a bit more aggressive. You're a bit more forward, and your feet are almost sort of under your thighs, almost. It is comfortable enough for a short time. I will start to feel it in my knees after about an hour with this position. And there's another thing, this sort of the asymmetrical engine design. Oh, 1 minute, gotta merge here. Slipper clutch, by the way, you don't actually have to rev match, but just have it. The asymmetrical engine design means there's a sort of engine guard sticking out at the right hand side of the engine, which hits against the inside of my boot, and it means that you've got this very wide stance. You've got this sort of man spreading stance the whole time, which I don't particularly like. I prefer to feel a little bit more engaged with the bike, to be able to wrap your knees around it and hold on there. But there you go, it's just one of the quirks of this bike. Okay, let's get through this traffic, shall we? And everyone is being very cooperative today in a most unusual manner for Irish drivers, who generally freak out when they hear a bike coming up behind them. But yeah, we're getting plenty of space today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It's a liquid cooled engine, as I said, so you don't really have to worry about the airflow so much, but it's still nice to have. Out down to Wicklow. Here's the Sugarloaf. Supposedly it's a long dormant volcano. One of my best friends, he used to tell very gullible Americans that the Sugarloaf is where Ireland mined all its sugar for export. That and what was the other one? Oh yeah, alligators in the Liffey. They believe anything. God love them. Okay, so here we go. Motorway up ahead at last. We've been pottering along at 100 just fine in 5th gear. So let's see how she pulls up to 120 now. Yeah, just absolutely fine. Not a bother on you, little baby. Good on you. Ah, for fuck's sake, more traffic. It is really nice to have that 6th gear though. It's a small thing. I mean, it should be a normal thing, but 2 of my bikes actually are only 5 gears. And they're fine, like you can still cruise perfectly fine on them. But the 6th gear just makes it feel that more comfortable. Now, speaking of comfort at cruising speed, at 120, yeah, it's fine. If you're a new rider, you won't know what having wind protection is like and not having it, so you won't know what you're missing out. The mirrors, they aren't stock mirrors, so they are quite buzzy. And the Rebel feels just fine. Let's see how much go she has. Okay, that's full throttle there now. Oh, would you look at that, my clock mysteriously blurred itself. Oh, never mind that. There we go. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Yeah, she pulls fine. She'll top out at about 160. But plenty of power for legal cruising. But she's not really made for that. I think she's a lot happier around here, about 110. And that's probably better for your tiny little tank anyway, to keep it around that. Alright, let's pull off the motorway so that you can actually hear me and get some nice roads. I was watching the most recent videos of Mythology, Adam Riemann, and he was in Ireland, and he was riding with two other guys, and one of them spilled out. Adam himself nearly went down, he said, because of just cow shit on the road, which is very normal. You've got to expect it. Slurry, silage, mud, loose gravel. Our country roads are not for being reckless on. So heads up for any visitors to Ireland riding, just be careful. Our roads are, they're a thing unto themselves. Okay, I see it, yes. I see why people say that this bike isn't just a beginner's bike, because it's so fun. Yes, I do see the... Where we go? We go that way? I think we shall. I see the reasoning behind that. It is a lot of fun. But of course, any little bike with a bit of heft behind it is fun. It's like that old saying, you know, it's better to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow. And she's got grunt, she's got pull, and the seating position, again, keep coming back to it, it's aggressive enough to make it feel, you know, sporty. Now, I have to say, one thing about the seating position that I did notice, of course, one of the major appeals of this bike, particularly for smaller riders, is the low seat height. However, you have to bear in mind that that comes at a cost. The cost is visibility. Let's get out of the shade here. It's chilly in the shade. When you're sitting at a 29-inch seat, you're kind of below, or at least level with, in some cases below the windows of bigger cars, which is a little bit intimidating. I do feel quite vulnerable, almost as if cars won't see me in their rear view mirrors because I'll be boop, a little bit too low. I'm used to riding my GS, which is the complete opposite. You can see over the top of everything, but even my Bonnie is high enough that, you know, you have a presence and you can keep an eye on all your surroundings. But when you're sitting in traffic, when you're commuting on a low bike like this, you do feel a little less visible. So that is one thing to keep in mind with the low seat height. Ground clearance is good. Again, that sporty position, the pegs are actually raised higher than they would be on a, you know, a typical cruiser. So you can lean it into curves, and she does handle curves quite well. She's quite stable. Those 16-inch fat tires, those beefy tires, give you plenty of space to lean into. I suspect this fella up here is getting to grips with his car. Good on ya, well done. Great use of the indicators, well done, well done. This part of Ireland is called the Garden of Ireland, Wicklow. It's good land around here. Not like in the west, bye, not like in the west. Shall we go for it? Yeah, we'll go for it here. Go, little rebel. Well done. Feeling now, watching that boat sail off, feeling that it's time to go. Anyway, not today. Let's talk about the Rebel, shall we? Now, I'm not going to insult your intelligence by asking who is this bike for, because this bike was designed for new riders. That was the whole point of it, and it succeeds. It really does. It's an ideal bike for new riders. It's friendly, but it still has enough power to get you around. The low seat height is, I know, it's very appealing to many riders. Now, bear in mind what I said earlier about the low seat height and regards visibility. And also keep in mind that I know it's a confidence thing, being able to feel your feet on the ground, but as I've said before in videos, we don't ride motorbikes with our body, with our physical strength. We ride them with skill and finesse that's developed over time. The smallest of people can ride the biggest of bikes. It's just a matter of practice. The Rebel does have competition though, it should be said. It's got competition from Royal Enfield and the Meteor line. It's got competition from Harley Davidson with the 500X. It's got competition from CF Moto and Benelli, the Chinese brands that are making ways onto the scene here. So where does the Rebel sit amidst all of that? That's a good question, and I'm honestly not quite sure actually. I think a lot of it has to come down to styling and personal choice. It's not so much to do with the price, because new these bikes will set you back between 8 and 8.5 grand. Older models like this one, at least in Ireland, will go for about 6 grand. So it's not like they're cheap bikes. They're still affordable, yes, but they're not cheap. Of course, you get the Honda name, you get the Honda legacy and the Honda reliability, but it's not the 80s anymore. There are better bikes out there for the price. But I don't want to put it down. It is a solid bike. It's a solid beginner bike. Would I recommend it for more seasoned riders? No, I wouldn't. It's just lacking a little bit of everything overall is how I would put it. But a solid bike. And to be honest, I don't really know what else to say about it, because solid does not necessarily mean inspiring. The bike doesn't inspire me. It's a lot of fun, absolutely. But it's fun as a novelty. It's not something I would own. But that's got me thinking quite a bit about the Rebel and the Rebel legacy, because there's nothing actually rebellious about this bike at all. It's a very friendly, very modest motorbike, except that it's a motorbike. And maybe if you'll allow me to get a little bit philosophical here for a moment, maybe this is where I can put a bit of a spin on the whole thing. Honda designed this Rebel to allow motorbikes to become more accessible for a young generation of riders in the late 80s and 90s. Before that, motorbikes were very much seen as, a manly endeavor, something for the outcasts of society. But Honda wanted to sell bikes, and it wanted to sell bikes as an alternative to cars to young people who couldn't afford cars, or perhaps were living in cities, etc. So they came up with the Rebel. They put a very reliable engine into a, for the time, a nice enough looking bike. They've done the same thing with the modern iteration. They put a solid engine into a pretty cool looking bike. And with that, they have said, you can ride a motorbike. You can ride this motorbike. The thing is though, not everyone wants to ride motorbikes. They're a sort of a niche vehicle. We're a sort of a subset of the general population. Most people don't ride bikes because why would they? It takes a certain something. It takes a little bit of madness, a little bit of, an alternative perspective on things. It does take a certain sense of rebellion to be a biker, and I'm not saying that to say, oh, look at us bikers, so cool, rebels. No. This isn't a rebellion against, society, or, it's not something we're trying to put on. It's just in ourselves, we're not content to just put our heads down, say yes, and do the same thing that everyone else is doing. It's a sort of private rebellion against the way things are. And when that finally hits you, when that feeling bubbles up inside you one morning when you're sitting in your car, stuck in traffic on the way to work, and some young one spins by you on a motorbike, and you think, do you know what? Maybe there is a different way of doing things. Maybe there is a way to break free of the flow, to go at my own pace, to go wherever I want, whenever I want. And you start to think to yourself, do you know what? Maybe there is something to these after all. And then you start looking at the marketplace, and then all you see is rebel. And then you start to think, do you know what? Maybe I am a rebel. As soon as you've started to think that, you are a rebel. It's the sort of thing that, not all rebels ride motorbikes, but anyone who rides a motorbike is a rebel in their own way. And then you start to think, do you know what? Maybe what I need for my first bike as a baby rebel is a Honda Rebel. I think that's the most rebellious thing about these bikes, and I think that's how Honda have won.